Well, with all the big contracts being signed around the NHL right now, that got us thinking, what does Nikita Kucherov's next deal look like? We'll dive into that, plus some big roster changes coming due to injuries on today's Locked on Lightning.
You're Locked on Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked on Lightning your first listen of the day. Every single day, we are your free daily Tampa Bay Lightning podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network in the country. As always, we want to begin by giving a shout out to our everydayers, those of you who tune into every single show, every single day. We love you. We appreciate the support you give us week in, week out. I'm Nick Morgan, and I am joined by the John Cooper to my Charles Barkley, Greg Stephen. Greg, did you know John Cooper and Charles Barkley were best friends, apparently?
I did not know that until now. But awesome. What a great friendship.
Yeah, guest appearance at John Cooper's fishing tournament yesterday, and apparently the two have been friends since meeting in an LA bar a decade ago.
Love that you bring these interesting tidbits to us. I learn something new from you every day.
There you go. Hey, don't thank me. Thank you to the Tampa Bay Lightning fishing tournament.
JJ Moser, the winner, by the way.
Yeah, good for him. I guess the big fishing scene over in Switzerland. A lot to get to on today's show. Nikita Kucherov will be eligible to re-sign a new deal after the end of this season. With all the big deals going on in the NHL right now, that got us thinking, what exactly is his contract going to look like? Because it's been 8 years since his last one, and by the landscape of the NHL has certainly changed since then. More on that. But before we dive into today's show, I want to mention today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. All right, time. A lot to dive into, but first, want to mention today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Well, hey, if you guys are listening to the show right now, there's a good chance you're probably on the Tampa Bay Lightning injury report, because why not? Everyone else on the Tampa Bay Lightning mediaverse is. Yeah, wild update from practice today. Greg, I'm just going to rattle off the names for you.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Ryan McDonough, who we talked about yesterday, did not come back after this weekend's game. Out, according to John Cooper, a few games. Not good. Then it gets worse. Dominic James, who we saw take a puck in the face, did come back, but he is probably going to be out a couple games. Nick Paul, who is still skating and has been skating for 2 weeks, is apparently doubtful for the next 2 games. John Cooper said not quite day-to-day. Yeah, not good injury updates. And then it gets worse, Greg. Victor Hedman, day-to-day as well. That's a big one on the blue line. And then Pontus Holmberg, who you and I keep talking about, has been so good, so solid, such a good addition for this team. Also day-to-day. John Cooper saying a lot of them in trouble for tomorrow. Probably call-ups coming. Greg, this is a lot at once. And this is going to be not easy for John Cooper and the Lightning coaching staff to kind of maneuver around.
Yeah, I'd say so. Did they give any update on Crozier?
No. I believe he was skating. Yeah, he was skating on the first line with JJ Moser, so I would assume he's a full go.
I think so too. I think he has to be now. I think he was nursing something.
Cirelli also appears to be back in the lineup.
Okay, that's huge, as we know. Best player on the team right now. Yeah, this is difficult to navigate. I mean, I think it's just like what you just said. Call-ups are coming, right? I mean, what else do you do to fill that many holes?
Pray.
Yeah. I think this is where you want your goaltender to like fully lock in. You know, you need prime Vasi for the next like week or two.
Yeah, I mean, and who knows if it's going to be like the full week or anything like that, but it
Right.
sounds like a lot of them probably aren't going to be a go for tomorrow against New York. And then you look ahead, and this weekend is a big doubleheader. Florida on Saturday, and that's one I think a lot of people have circled on the calendar for a lot of different reasons. And then you have another big game right after that. So it's one of those things where there's not a lot of, it's almost like you kind of want to take advantage of this little gap in the schedule. Like, normally like we see Lightning play like Tuesday, Thursday, and then Saturday, maybe Sunday. It does seem like there's a little bit of an extended rest this week.
Yep.
So you wonder how much of this is precautionary. And I also wonder how much of this is John Cooper looking at that Florida game on the road Saturday.
I was just about to say that.
Knowing it's going to probably get a little bit hazy after last time. There's a lot of bad blood between those two teams, knowing it's going to be a physical game and saying it's like, you know what? I'd kind of rather not take any chances and have guys playing hurt in that game. So I'm going to give them some extra rest now.
Yeah, for sure. I'm wondering, like, do you keep some guys out of this game too in the future? Just because we know the history in preseason, just alone preseason, is probably got some tempers flaring. So I don't know. This game coming up with the Panthers it makes me nervous, especially with all these injuries that you're talking about.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's a scary game for me. I think this is a game where you could potentially have someone get seriously injured because, I mean, the Bolts brought out an AHL team to basically beat them up, right? So yeah. I think it'd be silly. I think it'd be silly to not expect some type of retaliation.
We're going to talk about this whole dynamic on Friday's show when we preview the weekend slate, but if Florida tries something, like if they bring up some guys and if they just start like going after some players, if you're the NHL, what do you do then? Because you just find Tampa Bay, what was it, $100,000 for what happened this last game? Yeah. So if you start, like, if guys are out there like just trying to get Victor Hedman to drop the gloves or trying to go after Brandon Hagel again, like that's a disaster. And I don't think Paul Maurice is that stupid of a head coach.
No.
So I think they're looking at this. I think for me, Greg, the biggest question with this whole thing is momentum for the Tampa Bay Lightning, because we mentioned they've been playing so good. 7 wins in their last 8 games. They have another big game coming up against the New York Rangers, in which you're kind of licking your chops a little bit because they haven't been the best team this year. You're heading into a big doubleheader. You kind of want all of your guys firing right now. And
for sure. Yeah,
how well they've played, you don't want them to lose any steam. And we've talked about this before, but it just seems like the more these injuries pile up, it's not out of the question. It's just a little bit harder for everybody to, I guess, keep the momentum going when you're having to deal with lineup changes every night.
Yeah, for sure. I felt like they had finally reached a place where they were satisfied with their lineup. And that's why I think we've seen the consistency we've seen, like you kind of just alluded to. But yeah, when you lose that many guys, that changes drastically, right? So I think you really got to count on the guys that you think can slot in and have some experience. Like, I think you bring Geeky up, right? Yeah. I mean, I think you have to.
Yeah, there's a couple options there. I mean, Jacob Pelletier is another big one who's had a pretty good start to the season for Syracuse, and we know he played really well during training camp and preseason. But tomorrow when we preview the Rangers game, we'll dive into a little bit more of maybe the specifics, people you'd like to maybe see called up, maybe some lineup changes you'd like to see. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting test because this is a big part of the schedule coming up for Tampa, and you want guys healthy, especially if nothing else but for bragging rights going into that Florida game.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with the holiday break coming up too. You just want to get some momentum going into that, especially with the start they had. So very important.
Yeah. Well, speaking of roster decisions, I don't foresee Tampa Bay would want to part with Nikita Kucherov anytime soon. One of the best scorers in Tampa Bay Lightning history. But starting this summer, he can be open to negotiations for a new contract. And with all the NHL chaos surrounding the new deals recently, that got us thinking, what is Nikita Kucherov's next contract going to look like? We're going to dive into that when we come back. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's not just hockey in full swing, folks. The NBA is back. Whether you're rooting for the Orlando Magic or a Miami Heat fan or pretty much just any NBA team, there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. Keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. We're back on Locked On Lightning. Nick Morgan here alongside Greg Stephen. And Greg, interesting story that is going to be coming up for the Tampa Bay Lightning towards the end of this year is going to be the future of Nikita Kucherov. Back-to-back Art Ross winner, one of the best pure scorers in Lightning history, just got his 1,000th career point. Really cool celebration that we got to see. He's going to need a new contract, and as it has been told many times, because of the way all these new deals have structured, the 8-year contract for $9.5 million AAV he signed 8 years ago, that turned out to be one of the best value deals in the NHL. So, Greg, first and foremost, Nikita Kucherov coming back to Tampa, no question, right? Like, there's no doubt here, right? You're hesitating, and that scares me.
Yeah, I'm a realist, okay? We know that Cooch is a winner. That's what he wants. He wants to win. He wants to be the best. And do I think he'll leave? No. But my reason is because I think the Lightning will still be very successful by the end of this season. And I think that will be enough for him to want to stay. I think if for some reason, let's just say the Lightning drop, half of their remaining games and they either miss the playoffs or, I don't know, choke in round one terribly again, might he consider leaving? I think that's possible. I think if a contending team can pay him and he feels good about their odds of winning, I don't see why he wouldn't leave.
No.
I don't want him to. I love
it. I'm going to push back on that. I don't think I would say 2% chance that Nikita Kucherov leaves the Lightning unless he just absolutely tanks in quality of play over the next 2 years. Because here's the thing. He's been healthy. He's still very much in his prime because he just won the last 2 Art Rosses. So he's not just in his prime for the Lightning. He's in his prime for the NHL, one of the best scorers in the NHL. Yeah. He loves this city. He loves this team. I don't think he's going to be itching to go anywhere. And the fact that he's still, I would say, central to what the Lightning do on offense, this isn't a Steven Stamkos situation.
Agreed.
I don't think this is a situation in which, he is hurt. A couple times there's questions about his long-term health, and it's just they're far off on what he means. Agreed. For the team. I don't think it's that situation unless something major happens within the next 18 months. But I think you got to give Kucherov a blank check almost and just say, what do you want? You got to get him to stay here.
100%. Totally agree. And again, I'm with you. I think it's like less than 2% that he leaves. But
yeah,
like you said, something can happen that will make him want to leave. But like I said, I don't think he will. The Lightning would have to be awful by the end of this season and next for him to leave, I think. And I don't think that will happen. So
yeah, here's the other thing. So he is signed for one more year after this one. It's just when July 1st hits, he can start negotiating a new deal.
Yeah.
When you look at it, you got to think also the cap is going to go up.
Yeah.
The cap's going up from what we hear pretty significantly. And the other thing is the Lightning don't have a lot of big future deals that they need to make.
Right.
Because Braden Point's locked up till 2030. Gensel's locked up till 2030. Hagel till 2032. Cirelli 2031. And Victor Hedman until 2029. So those are kind of the big ones that you would want to sort of build your core around. And it's like you don't have to earmark money for them.
Agreed.
JJ Moser is maybe the only guy in the next few years in which you like a long-term piece that you would say that's a guy that we need to do what we can to keep him. And Vazzy's also locked up till 2028 as well. So I would be shocked if there's a situation in which he doesn't bring back. So let's talk numbers, Greg, because the NHL has had some interesting contracts signed over the past year or so. And again, Nikita Kucherov right now making $9.5 million AAV. When he signed that deal, it was one of the 10 most lucrative contracts in the NHL. Now you look and we've had like 6 or 7 $10+ million AAV contracts just signed since the end of last year. I mean, you think like Marty Nietzsche just signed for 11.5, and we're thinking like, how? Like Logan Cooley is a great young prospect, hasn't really done anything left, making $10 million. Like Thomas Harley, the second best defenseman on the Dallas Stars, is making $10 million.
Yeah.
So here's where it gets interesting, Greg, because do you look at what Nikita Kucherov has done and said, this is one of, you and I both agree, think maybe one of the 5 best players in the NHL right now. If you're Nikita Kucherov, do you look at that and say, okay, this is a guy that deserves 14, 15 million, for the next 4 years at least? Or do you look and say, look, you're 31 years old. You're going to be 32 when you resign this. You got to give us some help here. And do you think Nikita Kucherov would be like, okay, I'll take a little bit of a hometown discount to stay?
That's what my question to you is going to be. I think it's really about what he's going to want. And is he so much a winner that he's going to McDavid and take less than what he knows he deserves just to ensure that the Lightning have money to make other moves? Or will he want a big contract like you're talking about, And I don't know. I think that's a tough. I don't think anyone knows. I don't think even he would know right now, Yeah. But
I will say he's 32 years old now. So it's off by a year. He's going to be 34 when this new deal kicks in.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think.
I think it's going to be in between those two. I think it's going to be not quite fully team friendly, but also he's not going to take what he knows he could make. I think it's going to fall somewhere in the middle, to be honest with you.
I think you can maybe give him some sort of, I would say like a 4-year deal.
Yeah.
And I think you have some liberty to give him a nice raise. If I had to guess, this is my prediction here.
Let's hear it.
I would say maybe 11.5 to 12 million for a 4-year deal, knowing that the cap is lined up or is going to go up,
right?
Knowing that you have all the pieces you would want for the rest of his tenure already locked up. And you're still, I feel like that gives you some flexibility to do some other things to help the team if needed. That's my prediction. And I think, right at the end of his prime, he's going to be coming out of that contract. He's going to be 38. And I think that's right around the time that Cirelli's up, that Point's up. And then you're going to be able to really look at this team and say, okay, where are we? What does the future look like?
100% agree. And I was also going to say 11.5.
There we go.
Swear to God.
Same page.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
love
I
that.
think it's going to be 4, 11.5, or maybe I could see them even giving him 5, to be honest with you. But
Yeah.
I think it'll depend on his season, this season and next, obviously.
Yeah. Let's talk. We're going to have to pay attention and see like how negotiations go January 1st. Again,
Right.
that's when he's eligible to sign his new deal. He can't negotiate until then. Wink, wink, wink. But we'll see as we get closer to the summer where things stand, because that is going to be an interesting storyline to watch, not just for the Lightning, but around the NHL. Greg, one other thing I want to talk about is just the state of free agency in general. I think it's a lot different now than when you and I started watching hockey. What do we think of all these young players who have really only played 1 or 2 years signing all these mega deals right off the bat? That's a conversation we're going to get into in just 1 second. Today's episode is brought to you by DripDrop. I know when I'm hydrated, everything just works better for me. My focus, my energy, my mood, even my skin. This doesn't, help itself. That's why I've been using DripDrop. It's a doctor-developed hydration that keeps me running at full power no matter what my day looks like. DripDrop isn't your average sports drink. It delivers 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading brands, using a science-backed formula trusted by medical professionals, firefighters, and over 90% of top college pro teams. Right now, DripDrop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Go to DripDrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL. Again, that's DripDrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONNHL for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits hard and keep your body and mind performing at your best with DripDrop. Welcome back to Locked On Lightning. Nick Morgan here alongside Greg Stephen. And Greg, we're talking about free agency and kind of looking ahead to Kucherov's deal coming up. Let's run through some of the wild contracts that have been signed over the last little bit. So, a big one recently, Marty Necas, that raised a lot of eyebrows. $11.5 million for 8 years. You had Logan Cooley. That was another big one. $10 million for 8 years. You had Thomas Harley, as we mentioned before the break. But then you also get into guys like, Lane Hudson signing for 8.8, despite only playing 1 year. Jack Eichel re-signed for 13.5. Kyle Connor just signed for $12 million. Even like a big one, like you had, who was it? Jackson Lacombe, who is a guy that I think a lot of people needed to look up when this was announced for Anaheim, just signed for $9 million AAV. What's going on with all of these mega deals, Greg, especially for players that, quite frankly, haven't exactly proven much yet on the NHL level?
It's a good point. I think I would argue some of them have. I think Cooley is worth it. I think that deal is fine.
Okay, but he is a very good prospect, and he is going to be an amazing player. You're looking up his stats. I can hear you. I am also doing that same thing right now. But 65 points last year, like that's good. That's really good for a 21-year-old, but like you're getting a contract that, players get after leading the NHL in scoring for 2-3 years.
Maybe. What was his deal exactly again?
I believe it was 8 years, $10 million AAV.
It's high for sure, but doesn't Kaprizov just signed for what, 17, 16?
A lot more than that, yes.
Was it more than that?
No, I was saying a lot.
Like around that number. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's why I'd say you're paying for guys you believe in right now for $10 million. I think the market has just changed. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think. Yeah, obviously he's only played 2 seasons, but he's got 122 points in 170 games as a kid.
Yeah.
No
doubt he's going to get better. It's just like that's like money that you give to a proven player.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess I'm trying to argue that he is slightly proven, I guess.
Okay.
And
I can see that.
how much longer do you make him wait if it's not 2 seasons? Like 4? Is that what you think?
I mean, I think you can give him like a 2-3 year bridge deal.
It's fair.
That's what I would do as a GM. I think that a lot of players aren't wanting that anymore.
Like you're thinking, like you give him, 3 years for like 8 million or something, or like 5 million, or
Sure. Yeah, like 7, 8, something like that. Because
okay.
then it's like, we give you a nice raise. You're getting paid handsomely, but you still have to prove that you're going to reach your development. Like how many, do you remember Josh Hosang? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think of like another example. Like Trevor Zegras. Remember, like they come out for like 2 years and they're like, oh, this is going to be like the best player in the world. And then
Right.
they hit 21, 22, 23 years old. And it's like, wow, this guy is kind of mid. I mean, it
It's kind
feels
of how
like
I
that
felt about
happens. Yeah. I mean, it feels like that happens a lot in the NHL.
yeah.
I want to present to you with two theories, and I want you to tell me like what you think about them.
Let's hear.
I think a lot of this reason is I think the players are starting to get sort of a bigger. I don't know. I'm trying to find the right word. Like, I think they're having more of an impact on these negotiations that maybe it did in years past. And I think
I
they're
think
kind of
that's
having
probably
more
true.
control over their future.
Mhm.
Like you think about, like you trade for, until you're an unrestricted free agent, you have no control over where you go.
Right.
And I mean, just in this recently, we've seen guys like Cutter Gauthier, kind of hold up the Flyers to go to a place where he wants to go. You
Yep.
have the Mikko Rantanen situation from Carolina last year. It seems like players are taking a more active role in saying, I'll go here, I'm not going to go here. And I think the fan perception of that has changed. If you think like 5 years ago, you know, or like an old school like an old school mentality is, hey, if you're on this team, you better give your all for the team. And if a player holds out, if a player demands a trade, that guy sucks.
Yeah.
And he's public enemy number one. I feel like that perception's changed a bit, has it not? Like it feels like in some of these recent cases, it's like, you look at Cutter Gauthier, unless you're unless you're a Flyers fan, and I think most of the perception around the league was, oh wow, what did the Flyers do to him? Not,
Right.
oh, what's wrong with Cutter Gauthier? He's being a little diva. Do you
Right.
feel like that perception's changed a little bit?
Yeah. I think it absolutely has. I do still think it exists, however. Like I think there are guys who are loyal to their group in that way where they wouldn't leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do. I think from like an audience perspective, that has definitely changed
Yeah.
for
The
sure.
other part of it, and the other theory I want to throw your way, is I feel like just GMs in general are becoming a little bit more YOLO with how they're handling their contracts. And I think when you look at partially the Lightning, partially, to team like the Vegas Golden Knights, they've taken big swings.
Yeah.
And, I think about like the Tanner Jeannot thing from a couple of years ago.
Right.
Vegas is obviously kind of notorious for just signing guys to massive deals, massive contracts. And you're like, oh God, they're going to be stuck with that for years and years and years. And then it doesn't work out. And then they just immediately find a way to get rid of them. I
Yeah.
feel like NHL GMs are being more creative and finding ways to get out of bad deals that don't necessarily work for them. I don't know if that's necessarily due to better communication with some of these players, or what, but I've noticed that teams are willing to take on big contracts and sign mega deals. And if it doesn't work, it's just like, okay, well, how about we'll give you this contract, we'll pay for 25% of it, and we'll throw in a draft pick and you give us a draft pick in return.
Right.
And I feel like it's been a little bit more YOLO like that. And I feel like it's been a little bit more teams are just being aggressive to keep guys.
For
Like
sure.
we've seen teams give some of their young players basically a blank check and be like, the cap's going up, we'll find a way, but you're a part of the team and we're being more aggressive to keep you. It feels like that's changed a little bit from past, I guess, like the past mindset of team building is there's a little bit more aggressiveness where in years past, I feel like conventional wisdom was, okay, we want to pay for other players, we have to keep this, we have to do this. And maybe guys sort of dragging on and being a little bit tougher in negotiations as a result.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think it's also important to remember that it depends on the team situation as well. Like, for example, the Lightning are able to just gamble draft picks away. I think it's actually brilliant of JBB to just get rid of them and use them to acquire for now, because I just think that that's more valuable. That's just what I believe. And I think all the GMs vary. But then let's just continue with Logan Cooley, so I'm not jumping around everywhere. He gets this 10-year deal, right? It was 10?
It was 10. Or no, it was
10
8
million,
years,
8 years.
but $10 million.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So he gets that, but then you look at their roster and you're like, who else do you want them to pay that to? And like, who on this roster do you even really want to lock up? If I had to pick, it'd be him,
Yeah.
So I think just like their situation, that's probably a brilliant play. I think you take that gamble. He's shown you for 2 years he can do what he does. He's born in 2004. What's that make him, 21?
Yeah, he's 21.
So you're thinking we can help him grow even more and develop him, and then we'll see about everyone else, and we can kind of build around him too. And I think that's why I see why they would do that. And then again, like you said, the cap's going up, right? So 10 million for him is probably going to become what normal really is. So maybe that they keep that in mind as well in that one specifically. But
yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and it's an interesting dynamic all around. And it's certainly, I think, a lot of different than us, how we grew up kind of watching teams get built and everything like that.
for sure.
The other thing is just, I look ahead to this NHL free agency in 2026. And remember, this was the big one. This was everybody like shaking, like, they circle and it was like, this is going to shake up the league. We're going to have all these superstars changing team. And it's now shaping up to be like Artemi Panarin and Nick Schmaltz.
Right.
So like there's the Panarin sweepstakes. And then after that, it's going to be like, okay, who's going to sign Nick Schmaltz?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Panarin is huge, but yeah, for sure. Yeah. The rest is like, okay.
Yeah. Anticlimactic. It's like, it kind of makes like the free agent frenzy on July 1st less fun.
Yep.
Yeah. It's interesting for sure. Hey, are you guys excited to watch Nick Schmaltz this year? Or possibly for the Tampa Bay Lightning next year? Stay tuned. Yeah. Obviously, more on Lightning news coming up later this week. Tomorrow, Lightning take on the New York Rangers. Obviously, there's going to be some changes due to all the injuries. We'll highlight what we want to see, plus picks and predictions and keys to the game. That's going to do it for us on today's Locked on Lightning. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. Back with a new episode tomorrow. We'll see you then.